Hello and welcome to Eduphoria for Teachers. I'm Earl Yeager. On this episode, we're going to be looking at creating a lesson plan template. So when you're building your lesson plans in Eduphoria, sometimes there's a lot of things that you'd like to have every single time. Maybe you need a guiding question section, or maybe you have a section for the objective for the day, or maybe you want a section for vocabulary or other items that you just repeat on a regular basis. Instead of having to type all of the text for that each and every time and repeat the same thing over and over again, or have to copy and paste it from one day to the next, you can actually build a template in Eduphoria so that that default text shows up each and every time. So if you want to look with me over on my screen, let me talk a little bit about how that's done. So as we're looking here in Eduphoria, I'm theoretically here, we're just using an example. Maybe I'm a high school math teacher and I have a few sections of high school math. You'll see that by default, Eduphoria provides this warm-up materials and procedures and evaluation sections. These may or may not be what I would like to have for my lesson plans. So I may want a different set of default text here, some basic template that will always show up each and every day I do my plans. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change this, and you'll have to do this for each section you teach. So if I'm a middle school or high school teacher, I'll do it for each of my different preps. If I'm an elementary school teacher, I'll do it for each of the subjects that I teach. I'll have to set up a separate set of separate template for each of those sections. Now, we stated this once before in a previous video. I want to go ahead and restate that again here. If I've looked at another day, like for instance in this case, I've already looked at Friday, it's applied this template to Friday, whether or not I intend Friday to have that template. So I'll come back to that in a minute, but we'll show you how, again, this calendar area can be kind of quirky in the sense that if you clicked on a day before, it's going to keep that information whether or not you intend for it to. So I'm going to go back to today's date, and I'm going to go ahead and change my template. So in my template, instead of having this information, I instead want an objective, I want vocabulary, maybe I want a section for modifications, and then maybe I want the actual plans here to show up at this point. So we'll go through and actually build our template. And this template can be as complex or as basic as you want. It can just be topic headers like I have here, or it can include a lot of data, a lot of information. So if there's things that your administrators require you to have every time on your lesson plans, make sure to type all of that in there. Now, it does not include the teaks. The teaks are going to be up in this blue area here at the top, and we'll show you that in a separate video, how to add in your teaks and how to remove teaks from the lesson plan. But the rest of the information here, again, if you want this to be the setup, you can do that. I can have the same template for each subject area, or I can have a different template for each subject area. So if I happen to teach language arts and science and I want different things for both, I can do that however you want to set that up. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize this template. I'm going to copy and paste it to my next content area, replacing that information. So I can do that in each of my content areas here. Now, one of the gotchas here is I have to essentially kind of save this for each content area. So you click into one content area, and up here across the top, there's some buttons for the content area in this kind of bluish-grayish bar here. There's something that looks kind of like a wrench or a bone. This little wrench icon, when you click on that, one of the options here is set as default text for entry. And that's what we're going to use to actually set this as our template. So I click on set as default text for entry. It says this has been set as the default text. And then I will have to do that again for each of my content areas or each of my preps. So I go through each of these and set that default text. And so now I'm good to go. So looking at my calendar, if I go to a day that's not already bold, so if I go to Monday, the 8th, it has exactly what I want it to have: objective, vocabulary, modifications, and plans. However, if I look back at the fifth was already bold. When I look back at the fifth, you'll notice it still has Eduphoria's default information. So because I had clicked on that day before, it assumes that whatever I put there I want to keep. Now, if that's not the case, if you don't actually have plans typed in, if you don't want to keep that day, you're going to go up here to the top and click on this little drop down, this little, looks like a calendar date entry with a little plus on it. And then on that, when you click it, there's an option that says delete today's plans. When I delete the plans, I'll get rid of everything that's on that page and replace it with my new default text. So now I actually see the default text that I intended to have there for that day. And it will be that for every day ongoing until I again change the default text. I have seen where people change the default text on a regular basis so that they have fewer things to type each time. You can do that if you wish. So you can set that up. Also, you'll see if I go to the week view. So in order to see the 1 week view on your calendar, on your lesson plans, over here on the right-hand side of the central area, there's a little thing here that says View Planner in Other Ways. And right now it has a little calendar date on there with the number 1. That says 1 day. When I click on that, I can change that to View Weeks Plans. When I click on View Weeks Plans, I will see the entire week laid out with my appropriate template on that entire week at this point. Now, it will also bold all of the days for that week at this point. So now it is going to assume that this entire week has plans on it. So if I've done this before, it's going to have me delete the plans for each of those days if I make a change. So just be aware, any day that's in bold, if it doesn't have the correct information, you will have to replace that. To return from the 1 week view back to a single day view, you simply double click on the day you want to go to. So if I want to double click on Monday, I can go back to Monday's plans. So by double clicking, I'm now back on Monday's plans. Okay? So that's how you can set up a lesson plan template to go ahead and create that default so that that text is there each and every time, so you don't have to keep typing the same thing over and over again each and every day. Hopefully that helps you out. Thank you. I'm Earl Yeager.